Yeah,
Oy vey.
I know. It's really bad. All right. Hit record. I don't know if the live stream is up yet. It takes a while sometimes. Here we go. I think we're live now.
Okay.
Happy Monday. It's October 7th. It is, yeah, I guess you guys had a very black and white live stream last time.
We did. I really liked it. I thought the black and white looked really cool.
It did look cool. I was watching from the airport. I was stuck
Yeah, it
in
was
the
a whole
airport.
vibe.
It
There was a
was a
vibe
vibe.
going on.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I really need to learn to use that program that he uses. I tried it with us once or twice and I didn't love it, but I'm really resistant to tech change. I
Yeah,
hate when
me
my phone
too.
updates. You can't get used to things.
Well, he put it on black and white because we were all complaining about how we looked beforehand. And like
Oh,
for some
yeah.
reason on that program, my face looks twisted. I don't know what it is. I look like I've had a stroke. And so he said, well, let me change the lighting. Um,
That's
so I,
interesting.
yeah, I only like that program in black and white. I mean, I look hideous on it.
Yeah, I think I don't know how the Zoom I think you can see yourself in mirror on Zoom and then the audience, whoever's watching it, sees you normal. But you can make your camera mirror to yourself so that you at least look like you're used to seeing yourself. And I think on that
Uh,
program, it doesn't do that. And so all of us have these, asymmetries in our faces that suddenly we look like we're looking in a funhouse mirror if we see ourselves reflected
yeah.
the other way.
Yeah.
And I think
It's
that
scary.
we all said that last time when I used the
Yeah.
eCam live.
Yeah.
It was like, we're just like, what does it do to us to constantly see our own faces?
Oh, nothing good.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah. It is
Yeah.
weird. It's actually not good to become too self-conscious. It's better to not be thinking about how you look. People who look in the mirror less frequently um, rate themselves as more attractive than people who look in the mirror more frequently.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
hadn't heard that.
If you stare at yourself too long, you'll start finding everything that's wrong with you
Yeah.
or that you imagine to be wrong with you.
Yeah, I can see that. That's interesting. When I first had to start using Zoom, it was for counseling training uh for when I was in graduate school, and we would do these I guess when I was doing online work, the way that we would record our sessions was by using Zoom, of course, because that's how we're communicating. When I was in the in person, taking classes in person, we would set up a camera across the room to record, and then we would submit that to the teacher, but and critique ourselves and whatnot. But once it went on to Zoom, I found it really, really disturbing to watch it back. It made me feel a lot of anxiety and just depressed about looking at my appearance, picking on my appearance, like, oh my God,
Oh,
And I thought and the other people in the class were saying the same thing. It wasn't just me. It was like, this is in the beginning of the 2020, and most people weren't doing a lot of Zoom work at that
yeah,
time.
yeah. So it was very new. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very new. And it caused us all a lot of additional anxiety on top of what we were supposed to be learning. It added an element that, to me, it feels like that's not an insignificant element to add to the
No,
equation.
no, I don't think it is.
And for like counseling and meeting people, I always have to keep my view off, self view off. And so with these programs where you have to record, you're forced to keep your self view on. Like, I have to have
Right,
self view on to do these
right,
recordings, or
right.
else I would just be recording the other person. So it's strange.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the
Uh,
relationship between social media, internet, selfie culture, and self concept.
hmm I know. It's a strange new phenomenon. I'm very glad it didn't exist when I was a teenager because it probably would have made me completely nuts.
Yeah, I can only imagine how it's affecting young people now.
Yeah,
Hmm. Well, happy October, everybody. It's pumpkin spice month, I guess,
that's right.
if you're
If
a pumpkin spice
you're a
person.
pumpkin spice
Yeah.
person.
And it's just the two of us today, so we can just have a quiet little chat about this and that.
Sounds
Do
good.
you want to see something funny?
Yes, please.
Okay, so
Always.
I went to Greece this past week for a conference, and I didn't want to buy one of these because they were everywhere, and I kept seeing them, and I was kind of making fun of them with some of my travel companions. We were laughing about them. But then I thought I have this friend that actually it would be the perfect thing to buy. This I had to, so I bought this. Can you see what that is? Is it coming in?
It's a penis on a keychain
Yeah.
and it's decorated.
Yes. It's really, yeah. Isn't that funny? They were everywhere. Like everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, like dangling from, there were huge ones, like a foot long, and all the way down to like some that had like bottle openers on them, some that were on keychains.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
I
And
mean, so
this was in Greece.
I was in Athens, yeah.
And that, okay, here's a weird thought. So, and that penis on that keychain to me appears to be circumcised, but I don't think circumcision is as big of a thing in Greece.
Interesting.
So it's interesting that they choose the circumcised penis.
Hmm. That is interesting.
But I wonder why, like, why the penis? Like, when you go to New Mexico, everything's chili peppers and they sell chili pepper Christmas lights and restaurants are decorated with chili peppers. So, but you can see why it's the cuisine. So, what is it about
Yeah.
Greece and penises? I trust they're not in the cuisine. Like, why? Why the obsession?
Well, as a symbol, I guess it's prevalent in a number of cultures. And my cousin told me a few a few years ago, he showed me some pictures from Bhutan
Uh-huh.
where they have all these murals of penises, just everything penis everywhere. It's like this giant celebration of that. And as a symbol, I think that we're more used to seeing women sell bodies, feminine symbols of fertility.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just maybe a masculine symbol of fertility or virility or energy or something.
Okay.
And so and when I was in Iceland last year, they had a lot of like these carved penises also in the gift shops everywhere. So I wonder if there's some cultures are just more comfortable with the masculine fertility symbol. Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, it's really amusing to me.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh, Jayborn, for tourists only, Leslie was scammed. Yeah. It probably, yeah. I mean, I didn't see a bunch of like old ancient penises or anything. This was totally a tourist thing. Absolutely a tourist thing. But I wonder why. And I don't think I got scammed. It was only like €2 and I bought it for a friend. He's gonna laugh, so it's fun. But yeah, let's see. Ray says, I'm sorry I'm late, just got to the office. Topic, circumcision. No, we're just having a chat. Although there is somebody who's been lately commenting on my YouTube videos about banning circumcision. Like it's kind of this person's number one
Oh,
um
sorry to
thing.
disrespectfully roll my eyes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Nothing good.
No?
Uh,
About banning circumcision?
circumcision of males.
Yeah,
It's
yes. Yeah.
no, I would not be in favor of that
No.
whatsoever.
Really?
It's no, no,
Okay.
no,
Huh.
no. No,
Okay.
because I don't know how to say this without being really graphic and disgusting, but yeah, there's no way of saying it without being graphic and disgusting. If the foreskin's on, all kinds of things get caught in there. and it can become very unpleasant for the female when she's
Mm,
interacting sexually with the said penis. And
interesting.
I just think women have enough problems. So no, I'm not in favor of that.
That's interesting. And so I don't, I have sons and I had to make a choice about that, having
Hmm.
kids. Most Americans don't circumcise their sons anymore.
Yeah, I know.
And
It's the thing.
I chose not to also, and I looked into it quite a bit. And what I decided at the time is that uh, I think that it's largely cosmetic. I don't know about adult men and hygiene. I don't know what that looks like for people. And so you're indicating something that's pretty,
Mm-mm.
I guess it merits thought for that.
Let's just say,
But it
think about
also,
how most men take care of their belly buttons and their ears, how poorly they
mm,
manage that. And then transfer that on to the uncircumcised penis.
okay.
And you can see why there might be problems with
Yeah. Okay. Point taken. Yes, I can see
So
that.
just teach your sons good hygiene.
Well, it's painful, and there are cases where it gets botched, and little boys can end up even losing their penises due to the
Mm.
botched circumcision. So I can see a case for an elective procedure, which when they're young anyway, there's no hygiene issue
Hmm,
because
right.
the foreskin doesn't retract until they're older anyway. So there's
Yeah.
no hygiene issue. And in fact, you only introduce complication by doing it at birth, the potential for complication anyway. So it seemed to me like a good decision to just leave them as as nature made them.
Mm.
Um, and one thing that I found interesting in sex research, which I think some sex research is really bogus, crazy stuff that we don't need to be
Yeah.
doing. And then there's other things that seem interesting. But there's, I guess, uh, female females with uncircumcised partners have uh, it's easier for them to find a rhythm that's similar to each other because the circumcised male becomes desensitized through exposure of the sensitive tissue that's
Hmm.
constantly been exposed and then requires greater friction for stimulation. And so a natural man and a naturally uncircumcised man is better able to find a rhythm with his partner according to sex research, not according, I'm not, this is not my own data. I don't know.
I don't know why this is all sounds really unappealing to me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because
Okay.
you're imagining some belly button lint kind of
Yeah, and
scenario.
I'm also imagining like it requires greater friction. I'm thinking, oh great, more work on our part. You're
Well,
like, we're
the more
screwed.
work coming
We're
from the
screwed either way.
no, more work being for the circumcised, the partner of the
Right, I
circumcised
know,
man.
I get
Oh,
that. But then
okay.
it's like, so do you want like oh my God, it's now.
Well, well. Wonder what people think
Okay.
about this.
I
Brandon
I'm
Bergian,
scared to
as my
know.
bubby would say, wash your schwanz.
Good advice.
Yeah,
Very good advice. Please do not make women's lives any more difficult than they already are. Thank you.
yeah.
Public service announcement.
Hmm. Yeah. So you said that I know this is like jumping, but when we were talking right before, you said you have family in North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
What's going
Okay.
on? What do you
Yeah.
hear?
From penis hazards to flood hazards. So yeah, North Carolina is in really terrible shape. And my nephew and his girlfriend, his partner, live in Boone, North Carolina, which is a very cute little sort of college town. App State is right there. Um, and Grandfather Mountain. It's very scenic, very beautiful, and they had really severe flooding. Um, Power was knocked out, power lines were down, trees were down all over the place. People were completely blocked into their homes by fallen trees and fallen power lines. the roads there are really mountainous, and a lot of times there's just one road into your neighborhood, so you can't, if things are blocked, you're stuck, you can't get out. Some people's there were mudslides, there were homes washed away. um, my nephew was really lucky. He had a tree down across his driveway, but he was able to saw it up and move it, and their power was restored. But a lot of people have died, and there's um, some controversy about like if FEMA is doing enough. And there's all this stuff all over Twitter, all these posts from people who are there, and they're saying that FEMA is actually blocking volunteers, that the bulk of the help is coming from volunteers, private citizens that happen to own helicopters or trucks or going out and doing rescues. Because some people, you can't even get to them via a road. You have to helicopter. And that FEMA is trying to interfere with that and interfered with food donations. A Samaritan's Purse is really big there. It's a Christian organization, and they're doing a lot to help out. But apparently, according to the things I'm reading, FEMA is trying to sort of prevent non-governmental aid. I don't know how true that is, but I'm seeing multiple posts that say that.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. And it's extremely disturbing. And it harkens back to what happened in Lahaina. This was a similar sort of situation with people reporting that governmental authorities were actually interfering with escape and rescue efforts. And enough people are saying this that it does seem like it's not just some rumor. What is going on with this? Yeah.
Yeah. It's really concerning. I just yeah, I mean, what's better than citizens helping other citizens? That's great. And the attitude that, I mean, I do think the government should be helping North Carolina, for crying out loud. They absolutely should. But that idea that only the government should help, and that people should be entirely reliant on the government, I think is a really faulty idea. And I think it's wonderful to see people pitching in and helping each other. And if you have a truck or a boat or a helicopter and the means to use it, why not? And why stop somebody?
Right. And it kind of brings back the question of what is government anyway? Government is, at least in a democratic society, government is supposed to be the way people organize in order to provide services to each other. So it's not some entity that should be able to block us from doing things. It should be an entity that's there to help facilitate our actions. And this is a complete distortion of that. If the government is helping, it should be helping by subsidizing or helping divert funds to support the people who are trying to do the work, not to block them and decide who can be the helper and who can't.
Yeah.
And in light of how much we have funded foreign conflicts and sent foreign aid out, the amount of effort with the billions of dollars that we keep sending everywhere else, there should be a massive response. We should be able to really dedicate a lot of attention and funds to something that happens in our own country.
Well, and we're spending a lot of money on people who are crossing the border and, seeking refuge here. And most of those people are largely economic migrants, and they're getting a lot of financial help that people who have lived here and paid taxes for generations aren't receiving. It just kind of makes you feel like our government does not like us very much.
Yeah. Well, and aren't there one of the things that I've seen reported is that there are areas in North Carolina that are proposed sites for mining that people still live in and own property in. And those are some of the areas that have been really heavily hit. And so what we're likely looking at is some kind of a real estate land grab. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but that's something that I've seen reported in a few places.
I saw something about that. Somebody was reporting that in certain areas the government has said that have been flooded out. They're saying we own this now.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So I don't know what happens in those cases. So do they reimburse the people for the cost and value of their land and their home, or what happens? I just don't know enough about that.
Yeah, I don't know enough either about
And
that.
the town of Chimney Rock has been entirely decimated. Asheville, which I don't know if you've ever been to Asheville, it
I have
is,
not.
oh my gosh, it's so cute. It is literally this little hippie town in the
Mm-hmm.
mountains. Um, it's really beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
just full of cute cafes and outdoor music and restaurants and funky little stores all set in the mountains. It's just lovely.
Mm,
And they have really sustained severe damage.
really?
Yeah, it's so
How did they get
sad.
so much flooding in the mountains? How did that happen?
Well, because it's
Was there a dam that broke or something?
no, but there's I don't know if there's a dam that broke. That's a good question. There's rivers,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they just
Just overflowed.
yeah.
To the degree that they have, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, 97 cents says conspiracy. It's true. I mean, conspiracy, is it a conspiracy or are you saying it's a conspiracy theory? Because theory, I kind of hate that phrase anyway, because people
What
conspire
conspiracy
all the
theory?
time.
Yeah, oh
Everything,
yeah.
people conspire all the time. We conspire to have meetings. We conspire to get on Zoom together. Conspire just means breathe together. It means like you're talking about doing something together. And so, yes, people talk about doing things together, and people with more power or um, you know, different agendas, they conspire together to keep their power or to improve what they. If I were a really rich and powerful person, I'm sure I'd have opinions about the way that the world is going, because we all, even the poorest among us, have opinions about how to improve things or how something should be done
Right.
better. So it's kind of the it's kind
Yeah.
of the pattern of human discussion. We talk about how to make things better or what's going wrong.
Yeah.
And so when people are seeing a lot of things that don't make sense, or start to notice that things are maybe being misrepresented, and they start to try to theorize about what could this be? What is going on? If you call that a conspiracy theory in a pejorative way, then you're just, I mean, that I don't think that that's really very productive, because of course we all try to theorize about what the heck is happening when things don't make sense.
Well, and we also know that a lot of things that were dismissed as conspiracy theories ended up being true or true in part. So
Mhm.
I'm always willing to indulge so-called conspiracy theories because I want to read about it and research it and see what happens and if there's some truth to it. Because so often in the past few years, there's been
Mhm.
major truth to it.
Yeah, I think that when we look at what are the points where you lost faith in what you were being told,
Mm-hmm.
and when you start to have enough of those points, you kind of question everything at
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like 9/11 was a big one for me. That
Oh,
just
interesting.
the weapons of mass destruction thing,
Oh, that's part. Yes.
how we quickly went from oh, they came from Afghanistan to let's go bomb Iraq.
Yeah, that
And
wasn't
then
suspicious at all.
they manufactured the weapons of mass destruction hoax and did it
Mm,
all right in front of us, and quickly then turned the argument into this pathos, this like our guys, our good American guys are going to go in and whatever. It was like it just, there was this American pride thing. And I think, what was the deal with France? France didn't support our
France didn't
invasion,
support it, so
and so
people
we
stopped calling French fries and started calling them freedom fries. And then if you questioned the war, it was like you weren't supporting the troops. And I think that's manipulation. You know, the left does a lot of things to manipulate. And I think in this case, we witnessed the right manipulating in terms of if you questioned the response to 9/11 at all. Um, well, you're not supporting the troops and you're anti-American. It's like, no, of course everybody wants the troops to come home safely. 100% everybody does, um, but there's good reasons for disagreement as to if that was the appropriate response or not. But it's
Right.
an emotional manipulation piece of which serves to distract again, um,
That's right. That's
from
right.
what's actually happening.
And that was what, at the time, my thinking was still, I still, I guess I believed our political structure as we're presented it. So I believed that the people on the right were pretty evil because I'm seeing Rumsfeld and Cheney and the Halliburton thing and that
Mm,
manipulation there that you're talking about with that sleight of hand, like we question this war. This is a terrible thing. And that being turned on you, like
mm-hmm,
you hate our troops.
mm-hmm.
You hate American troops. You think they're
Right.
evil or, you're unpatriotic. And so I was really young then. I was in my early 20s. And so I thought the right is these are evil people and therefore I am a Democrat. Therefore I'm on the other side instead of now seeing it as I do, which is that it's just this is the form and pattern of politics.
Yes, and I think of human nature.
Hmm. Oh, Helena says Cheney is a darling now. I've seen something about that, like Cheney supports the Biden Harris, and that's supposed to be a good thing now. The
Really.
guy's just a complete snake.
Mm.
Yeah, the Iraq war was eye-opening. It was eye-opening for me too. And there were a few things like that. That was probably one of the big ones for me where I lost trust in institutions and adults.
Mm-hmm.
It was just devastating. I thought, well, I thought I was growing, going to grow up and take up my place as a person in a world that made some kind of sense. And then you see the lies
Yeah.
and the dishonesty and the manipulation.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. That's beautiful. Yeah, I feel that a lot. Like things don't make sense. And I really had been, even though I was a person, even as a kid, who questioned things a lot, I
Mhm.
did feel ultimately that we could, for the most part, trust the institutions. And that was comforting to me. Um, and I also thought that if you kind of played by the rules and did everything right, things would turn out okay. And I don't think that that's true anymore. And I also don't think that, um, just sort of working hard and being an honest person is necessarily, I think it's preferable. And I still endorse that. And that's how I choose to live. But that's also not a guarantee.
Mhm.
Really crazy, unfair, unpredictable stuff happens. And we
Mhm.
have, I think, less control of our lives than what I had thought. Um, we can sort of control our attitudes to some extent with a lot of work, but I don't
Mhm.
think we can really control like what happens to us as much as I had thought when I was younger.
Mhm. What is that a question of? Is that a question of mostly spirituality, or is that a re relationship between individual and collective question?
I don't know.
Like the realization that there's limited control that we have of our own outcomes.
Yeah, I think you could look at it from a lot of different angles. I think I primarily started looking at it from a spiritual angle. Um,
My mom always used to say, man plans, God laughs.
Yeah, I like to think God's not shuckling too hard over the floods in North Carolina,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
you know.
I don't think that it was, I didn't take it to be sort of this malicious image of God, but
Yeah.
rather like, you don't, as a, as an individual, don't be so certain and leave room for the need for adaptability and flexibility.
Yeah.
If you set yourself in a rigid course, you're not in control of everything that happens to you. You can control
No.
like your attitude maybe, and but a lot of that, it comes down to how resilient are you? How much can you bounce
Mm-hmm.
back from unexpected things?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think life is really hard, and it's suffering and luck and all of that are not evenly distributed amongst people. It's not equitable. Um, and I know people that have lived incredibly healthy lifestyles and dropped dead really young, and people that have burned the candle at both ends and done all kinds of drugs and partied and screwed people over and are
Mhm.
living long, happy, hearty lives. And um, so
Mhm.
it's it's disheartening because I actually really would like I would like the system to be rigged in favor of people who are um
We're ethical.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice,
Mm.
ethical people. Yeah, I would like that. And just, like if somebody's like a horrible rapist or murderer or something, I would like them to get leukemia as opposed to like a innocent 7 or 8 year old kid. I would like that world better, but that's
Mhm.
not the world we have.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's hard. That's when I was trying to figure out what I thought about religion and God when I was younger. Uh, I remember asking my dad, who I don't think he's an atheist per se, but he had his own, I guess, arc of rejection of Christianity because of his upbringing. I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But I asked him about it at one point, and he said he had a hard time believing in the Christian God because uh, basically it came down to all the terrible things that happen to good people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the primary reasons that people struggle. And, in the sort of Judeo-Christian concept conceptualization of God, God is very much this being who's watching things and controlling things. So then it really does call that into question. Well, why is God choosing these things? Because it sounds pretty horrific. And then to me, the whole, well, the Lord moves in mysterious ways does not at all
Mm-hmm.
um, offer any comfort to that. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't really view God as sort of a decision making entity that's saying you get cancer, you get $1 million. I
Mm-hmm.
don't view God that way, but um, there have been times when I have sort of embraced more of a personification of God, um, in terms of how I looked at God, and that then made those things more upsetting and frustrating to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, upsetting and frustrating are not adequate words. Devastating, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't grow up with that kind of God image, but I
Yeah.
saw people who did, and it did seem there's so much I guess inconsistency and hypocrisy in it. Like if God is a such a personified Santa Claus guy, that if you're really good and you say the right things and you pray to him just the right way, you'll have a good life. Then how do you explain the things that happen to people that are bad? You have to use like that, like you said, the Lord works in mysterious ways. You have to imagine that maybe this person wasn't as good as they acted like they were, or that this
Mm,
was some kind of a punishment for something that they were going to do later, but he's stopping. I mean, how do you even logistically make sense of that?
yeah.
If that, if God is that.
Or it's really a big favor for some higher purpose, but you just can't conceive of it because you're a mere human. Yeah, that way of viewing God does not work for me, and doesn't help sort of protect me from the slings and arrows of life, I think.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, James from Bahia says this is a black pill day. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's really quite it's a big day in terms of thinking about very painful, difficult things. I mean, it's October 7th. It's a year since the the day that Israel was bombed, and we saw these horrible, horrible things happening to people and everything that's gone on since in that region. It's just
Yeah.
tragedy upon tragedy for lots of innocent people. Um, just horrific. I remember the images that day. That was when I learned that you can turn off images on Twitter. I
Oh, I
had to
didn't even
learn
know
that.
that.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't know
can.
that.
Because uh, I was, I have no, it feels selfish to say that I felt traumatized by looking at things that were real things that happened
Hmm.
to other people. Those were real, devastating, horrible,
Yeah.
just worse than any movie, or worse than any fiction
Yeah, it was a
that
living
happened.
nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I cannot
yeah.
believe it's been a full year. It feels to me like it's been about 4 or 5 months.
Mm,
I mean, it's just, it's so weird to me. But yeah, that was a really horrible, horrible
mhm,
day and
mhm,
very, very shocking. I was in a state of shock, I think, for several months.
mhm,
Just that I mean, Israel has an excellent security
mhm,
system and that they could be breached like that and people come parachuting
mhm,
over into Israel and attacking and raping people. And then, concerningly and really disgustingly, in my opinion, people who immediately took to the streets and were wearing little
the parachutes.
badges that they'd made of parachutes, like as if
Yeah.
they're endorsing this. I mean, these were innocent young people at a concert.
Mhm,
That is just sick. And whatever you think of, the whole Israel Gaza question and whatever a person's opinions are about that,
mhm,
how they could think that attacking innocent
mhm.
concert goers, all these lovely young people, is just absolutely this. Yeah, that has
Yeah,
been the
yeah,
response to that has been really, I think, sickening.
yeah. It's really heartbreaking on, I don't know. And I think, gosh, it's been an area that I've really kind of hesitated to even really talk about because I know it hits home for so many people in a really personal way. But there's also the question of the response to that, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like these kind of arguments get flattened down and that propagandistic pathos is used in order to quell real conversations about things. It's just like if we wanted to talk about was there a problem with the United States response to 9/11? Well, you can't say that because you hate our troops. If you talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and so if you want to talk about Israel, which I don't have a criticism. I don't know enough about it to say they did the right thing or they did the wrong thing. But what I do think is it feels like a repetition of the same pattern that if you ask about governmental military decisions, then you're being equated with a hater of those people. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that that's right either. I think it feels like that same overly simplistic argument. They're human beings at the end of the day. The people who are not making government decisions on any side are the ones that pay the price.
Yeah, I think it's always good to be able to ask questions. Douglas Murray has done really good coverage of that conflict, I
Really.
think. Yeah, and Ben Shapiro does a very good job of explaining the history of Israel, Palestine. Yeah, he does a really good job with it
Mm,
because it's yeah, I think it's an area that we have not um, learned enough about,
hmm.
especially nowadays in schools. It is not being covered adequately, and yeah, they do a great job with it.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So we've talked about God, about war, about
Yes.
penises.
Yes. Yes. A
Mm,
cheerful conversation.
yeah. For sure. What else is on your mind today, Jennifer?
What is on my mind? Hmm. Nothing, nothing of any value whatsoever to
Yeah.
anybody other than myself. My
Yeah.
exercising is on my mind, and yeah,
Do you exercise?
I do.
What's
I
your,
do. I do.
what
It's
is your
nothing. It's not.
routine?
It's not impressive. Um, but I walk a lot, and I do weightlifting at home with very little dumbbells. I have my little, it's not a workout, it's more of a wimp out. I just don't do well with a lot of different um, really strenuous activity is not good for my particular musculoskeletal system. But I do work out, and yeah, oh, and I do qigong now too, which is
Oh,
the most wonderful thing
how much time do
ever.
you give that a day? Is it morning? It's a morning thing, right?
No, you can do it at any time.
Hmm.
I don't do it every single day. I take a class, so I probably do it like a couple times a week. I'll probably start doing it more, but it's really just moving the energy around, and it is amazing.
Hmm.
It's sort of a form of moving meditation.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's well worth it. There's all different forms though, and so, there are forms that I dislike, but the form that I've been doing, I love, and started just showing bits and pieces of it to clients because it works so well.
Hmm. What do you recommend?
What like
Like
what
if you had
form?
bits and pieces of it, yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you one. It sounds really silly. So there's this great thing you can do. You can do it if you're feeling upset, but you can also just do it to kind of activate your body. You just kind of stand up and you just shake your whole body. Like shake your
Oh,
arms, shake your legs, and do it for like 5 or 10 minutes. You can shake just loosely to start, then shake really vigorously, and then go back to just shaking very gently. And it's amazing. Like if you're anxious or you're super upset, you're shaking. Like you're just like a dog shakes something off that
hmm.
they don't like, you shake. And
I
it
guess it
releases distress.
it must be sort of a lymphatic drainage sort of process.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in I've been doing this form of qigong called Dao Yin that's actually supposed to be yoga combined with qigong, but the yoga in it is pretty undetectable. It's mainly just qigong, but there's a lot of things in there where you're activating different organs.
Hmm.
Very, very
Hmm.
interesting. And using meridians, I'm still learning about it.
Hmm. That's cool. How did you get into this?
It's a whole thing. Oh, because I started participating in some mindfulness classes, and they were doing qigong as part of their different meditations. And then so I just decided to take a class
Hmm.
that's just the qigong. So yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
yeah, I love it.
Hmm. Yeah, I've never done any of that, but it sounds nice.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Have you always exercised?
Yeah.
Your whole life you've stayed with a pretty active lifestyle?
Yeah, not as active as I would like
Hmm.
if I could, I would be a person who I would be like running marathons
Hmm.
and doing major hikes. But I just have always had, like, since my 20s, knee problems, hip problems, all kinds of stuff, fibromyalgia, which I still think is a diagnosis that they give when they just don't really know what to say to you.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I've struggled with those problems, and it has drastically decreased the level of activity that I would do otherwise.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yes, but
bet.
I'm lucky that I can
Fibromyalgia,
do what I
that's
can do.
like diffuse body pain in certain
Mm-hmm.
regions of the body.
Yeah, but there's like really over 100 symptoms
Hmm.
of fibromyalgia. The diffuse body pain is the symptom most associated with it, but there's all kinds of other weird random things that people with fibromyalgia have, and I have almost every single one of the symptoms.
Mm,
It's completely nuts.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd even heard of that until maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah. Some people still say it's like a BS diagnosis. And I understand why they say that because it's like describing something that's just not like it could have other sources, but the fact
Hmm.
that they list all those different symptoms, I think there's something systemic going on.
You know, it's an interesting one that people have been reporting more and more over the last few years is Raynaud's syndrome. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
It seems like it just out of the blue, many, many, many people have this. And
Yeah.
I've got to wonder what it is. And it's not like it's just people who got the COVID shot or something, because
No.
it's happening to a lot of people, but it's a circulatory issue, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then chronic fatigue syndrome, some people say that's BS, but it, you could say that's the wrong diagnosis and it's due to something else, but the phenomena itself is not BS. My sister has that. And I mean, she can catch a cold and be sick for 6 months. It'll
Mm.
just keep going into different things. And then if she tries to be active, she'll just get sick again. So she really struggles with that.
Hmm. What do you think is causing everybody to get sicker and sicker?
Stress.
You think so?
Yeah, I think we're getting further and further away from our own true natures. I don't think that we're meant, as we sit here on a screen, I don't think we're meant to be staring at screens all day. I don't think that we're meant to be, that we're wired to interact with technology all day long. Um, I think it's unhealthy. And all this stuff was supposed to make our lives easier, but it hasn't made it easier. It just means that we can work even harder and do even more in fewer hours. So the expectations have just increased.
Hmm.
And so I think our lifestyles are more and more hectic and high stress. The expectations are outrageous, especially if you live in an area, um, like the Washington, D.C. area, where, everybody's worried about what kind of college their kids are going to get into. And, um, it's just super, super high achieving area, which is great in some ways. There's lots of
Hmm.
opportunity, but I just think our lifestyles are crazy. When I see how kids live compared to how I was raised, I had all this unstructured time running around outside, climbing trees. Now parents, their kids will be like 10 years old and they're worried about them not having enough activities because and I get you want your kids to be well rounded, but it also feels to me like you're kind of maybe creating a product that's
Hmm.
more appealing to colleges.
Hmm. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting that there seems to be like we're allergic to the idea of boredom.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're bored, then you're unproductive and that's bad.
Right.
But being entertained is okay. How often do you see kids on tablets?
Yeah,
Just
constantly.
kids,
Kids are always like this now.
just even little kids. I've seen
Oh,
parents
yeah.
hand their babies in the stroller their cell phone so the baby will be quiet and they can
Yeah, it's to
play
shut
and
them the F up. And
watch videos.
I don't
Yeah.
blame them because they are annoying. I get why parents do it. If you're trying to have lunch with a girlfriend and you just need a flippin' break, I get it. I don't judge it, but I don't think it's in the long run, I don't think that's how our brains are meant to function. I had hours and hours of boredom when I was a kid. And so I had to find things to do. And
Hmm.
that's where you get in touch with your creativity. And,
That's
I
right.
would climb up in a tree and sit there and journal or write poetry or something because I had to do something. And we only had
Hmm.
a few channels on the TV. So I couldn't just watch cable all day. It
Yeah.
wasn't an option.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really true. Boredom is where you find the impetus and the tension in order to build something, in order to
Mm-hmm.
do something. But if you're constantly entertained and constantly distracted, you end up really producing a lot less, a lot less meaning too.
Yeah.
I have 4 kids and I've never found them irritating enough that I would need to give them a tablet. you know? Like, uh,
That's really good. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I think other people's children can be kind of irritating, so it can make sense to that, from that perspective. But I've always, I feel like my kids have, let's see, my oldest daughter and my oldest son both had a lot of, they were pretty intense. So they would have, um, especially my son, he would just, like, he kicked a lady in Costco once when he was 3. He's kicked some lady. Like, he's in the cart and he sticks his
Oh
leg out
my
and he
God.
kicks this lady. And I was mortified. I was like, oh my God. And
That was
I
really
told her,
embarrassing.
I, and I turned to the lady. I just apologized. She's shocked and I'm shocked. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's 3. And she goes, oh, I have a 3-year-old too. It's like we both at that, in that moment, were like, yeah, 3, they're nasty little things,
Well, good. I'm glad she took it in stride.
She did. She was really sweet. And um so he was really difficult for a few years, and I still don't think I ever wanted to give him a screen. I just felt like that's, I wanted him to behave,
Yeah, yeah.
but I feel like putting a kid on a screen is like putting their life not just on pause.
Yeah, it's like putting
Yeah.
them on this conveyor belt and they're just like a loaf of white bread just going along on
Yeah.
that conveyor
Yeah.
belt. Yeah. My parents never, I mean, they couldn't have done that with me, but they also never tried to sort of just get me to shut up and leave them alone. They would include me in the conversation
Mhm.
so that I was engaged and not getting, fussy. They would
Mhm.
explain things to me and point things out to me. They wouldn't wait till I asked questions. They would just involve me.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and if you want to have an adult conversation when you have little kids, it can be hard if your kids are around, but they there was a while there where, in San Antonio anyway, there were a couple of restaurants that had sandboxes and places for the kids to go play while you sat at your table. The kids could be entertained in like a little play area, or like the sandbox place in particular was this one. There were a couple places like this where they had an outdoor area, and there was, like, the hills and trucks and things that,
Mm-hmm.
so that's nice. Or you can just
It's a
go
great idea.
do takeout and go to a park
Yeah.
and let the kids play. But yeah, it can be difficult, or you have to save your adult time for when you have a sitter, or the other
Mm-hmm.
parent can be with the kids. But yeah, I don't know, the screen thing. How did we get on that?
I don't even know.
Mm,
I'm
It's
so
just
float. I'm so
it
floaty today.
I am too.
I'm really floaty and
Yeah.
daydreamy and
I still have jet lag. I was I don't know. I couldn't tell where the beginnings and ends of the last couple of days were because it was so different. Like I was telling you, I got on an airplane at 5:45 in the morning. I think it was yesterday, and then I arrived home at 10:45 in the morning, same day, but it
oh
was a
god,
15-hour flight, something
that's
like that.
so
So, it
disorienting.
was yeah.
Yeah,
So the jet lag.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Helena says we were talking about boredom. Yeah. I know. I think that boredom is actually important. Like
100%.
I send my kids out on their bikes every day and just tell them to go ride bikes. Just go ride around. It's crazy how many empty playgrounds there are around here. So many beautiful playgrounds and nobody playing with them in them. I think
Mm.
people are afraid that their kids are going to get hurt, and I am too. When I send my kids out, I have
Oh
this
yeah.
persistent worry that one of them is going to ride back up really fast and yell, "Mom, you know, my brother fell down and we whatever, and you got to come." And I have this worry that I have all of those super parental anxieties around that, but I still make them go out.
Yeah, it's absolutely essential to kids. That's how we got on this topic. We're talking about why people are getting sick more. And I was saying, I think it's stress and our lifestyles aren't really compatible with our
Mhm.
natures. And then we got
Mhm.
into talking about kids and how they're being raised now. Yeah, I think people are all actually kind of, we're bored, but we're chronically overstimulated because we'll be watching a movie and scrolling on our phones at the same time. We're in a constant state of distraction our expectations are higher and higher. I think stress, plus I think our foods are getting there's much more processed food in people's diets. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
causing disease too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if people could do one thing, just one thing to improve their life, be avoid food dye.
Mm,
Avoid anything with artificial coloring in it. Stuff is so
except for peanut
toxic.
M&Ms, that's worth it. That's worth
No.
it. That's worth an early death.
Don't 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 they make some version of that that's not as toxic? Because they make
Gotta
those
be. I need the
sun
toxic
drops, those
version.
like they're M&Ms but without the
Oh,
artificial food
really?
coloring.
I flippin' love this. It's so weird. As I've gotten older, I've started to like really lowbrow foods. I used to, if I had chocolate, I liked these really expensive handmade chocolate truffles. Now, nope, I want peanut M&Ms. I don't know what has happened to me. My food standards are in decline.
Well, maybe it's your peanut phase of life, your peanut M&M phase of life.
I thought you were going to say your penis face of life. I thought you were going to tie it all back
Are
to
we
the
gonna do
beginning of the
that?
conversation. We
I
were
think you
talking
just
about
did.
circumcised or uncircumcised.
So is that the with nuts or without nuts? No, it doesn't quite work that way. Oh,
So
well,
if you were going to divide circumcised and uncircumcised by political party, which political party do you think would be more
oh,
towards circumcising boys and which would be leave boys au natural?
that's
What would you
interesting.
get? We'll make it a political thing.
Um, I don't know. I would have said at one point that lefties would have been more likely to leave things more natural. I would have said that
Mhm.
lefties would be more natural food oriented, environmental, blah, 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 blah. And now I have no idea because I don't recognize the left at all. It's just a bunch of authoritarians trying to make things technocratic, bureaucratic, and systematized. And so
Mhm.
they are no longer what I used to recognize. So, but I don't know if all those crunchy granola types have gone to the right or if they're
Well,
just kind
isn't
of
there that
floating
whole
in
thing?
this.
Isn't there that whole thing now, crunchy con, like crunchy conservative, where you're the person who goes to the
Oh,
farmers market and you're Birkenstocks, but you vote Republican and you hold conservative values? There's that
I know a lot of people like
phenomenon.
that actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, I think so.
If you know
So
any, you can.
maybe I would
If you
say
know any, you can set me up with. Let me know.
you want one of those.
I'll take.
I know a
It's
really, I
it's
know a
among
really
my
great one, but
range.
he's
It's within my
gay,
range of
so
choices.
probably
Not gay though.
no, not gay. Um, yeah. So mission, find Jennifer a crunchy con, a crunchy
A
con
crunchy
date.
con or a classic
Yeah,
liberal or a crunchy con. I'll take
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think I just maybe there's a point, maybe there's a I don't know. I think that it's really easy to like idealize some point in the past, and that's fictitious, but it might be our
Yeah.
own mental pin that we want to put in when this was at this point things were right, things were perfect,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's not possible. But perhaps we could. I almost do you remember those books, those little picture books that were like the pages were all split and they had pictures on them and you could flip and it would look like paper dolls almost, but it would be like these different bodies or outfits that would then have you ever seen one
Oh,
of those?
I don't think
Oh,
so.
we had this one and it was like cartoons of birds or something. So there
Oh.
were the top third of the page is all these different heads with hats or whatever. And then the next third is the body with like the outfit or whatever. And then the bottom third is the feet with weird shoes or whatever, what kind of bird
Oh,
feet or
okay. I don't
animals.
remember those.
But they're drawn so that if you flip them, you can create a picture out of each one. They line up so that it's this never ending combination of funny
Oh, okay.
pictures. And I almost picture like this person who's like this crunchy and yet like traditional family values and
Yeah, but then kind of, yeah, classic liberal with conservative leanings, maybe. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be a cool flip book. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to our weird, floaty, rambly chat today.
Neither one of us are high. Just a disclaimer.
Speak for yourself. I'm drinking coffee. My
I have
drug of
not had
choice.
any caffeine today, which might, that might explain my general floatiness.
Yeah, maybe caffeine lack and jet lag. It's a weird combination. Well, have a wonderful week, everybody, and we'll have more people here next week. We'll have Jennifer Law with us again for another discussion on surrogacy, fertility, and all of those ethics, medical ethics. Have a good week, Jennifer.